It is obvious to me that no one religion can encapsulate the totality of the divine. We are all products of specific histories and cultures. Humanity is full of massive histories and cultures, and therefore no one religion is the totality. God is more than any one religion. And it's important for me to know my own heritage properly. But when I meet someone from another religious heritage, in the spirit of that religious heritage, in effect, I encounter the divine presence beyond my own religious tradition. And that is a wonderful thing.
The Honorable Rabbi David Rosen is one of the most esteemed and dedicated contributors to the advancement of interfaith understanding and peace. A former chief rabbi of Ireland, Rabbi David Rosen, is the International Director of Interreligious Affairs of the American Jewish Committee and Director of its Heilbronn Institute for International Interreligious Understanding. He is also a former chairman of the International Jewish Committee for Interreligious Consultations. In addition, Rabbi David Rosen is a member of the Chief Rabbinate of Israel's Commission for Interreligious Dialogue, a member of the Council of the Religious Institutions of the Holy Land, the international president of the Religions for Peace, and a member of the board of the directors of the King Abdullah International Center for Interreligious and Intercultural Dialogue. A son of the renowned Rabbi Koppel Rosen, Rabbi David Rosen was educated in England, where he was born, and in Jerusalem, where he also served as a dean and a professor. Rabbi Rosen is renowned for his leadership role in the establishment of full relations between the State of Israel and the Vatican. For his efforts promoting peaceful interreligious relations, Rabbi Rosen was knighted by His Holiness Pope Benedict XVI and made a commander of the British Empire by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Today, Rabbi David Rosen still continues his lifelong commitment to unite people of different faiths and cultures through finding commonalities. Part of realizing this ideal is sharing the importance of the ethical vegan lifestyle. Rabbi Rosen is a compassionate vegan himself, urging people worldwide to embrace the life-changing diet for our planet's future as well as our spiritual wellness. Today, we are greatly honored to present the following interview with Rabbi David Rosen as he elaborates on a world of spiritual interconnectedness and friendly and peaceful dialogue.
I'm Rabbi David Rosen. I'm an Orthodox rabbi. There are three main streams within Judaism. Orthodoxy is the most traditional. There's also ultra-Orthodox Jews, often incorrectly called Hasidic, because Hasidism is only one component of ultra-Orthodoxy. These are the Jews with long side locks and with black hats and black coats. So in that sense, I would say, in terms of religious lifestyle, I'm actually quite close to them, because modern Orthodox like me and ultra-Orthodox will pray the same way 3 times a day. We will observe the Sabbath the same way, but our attitudes towards the modern world are very different. So I dress modern, music and culture are part of the modern world and of the general world are part of mine. For them, they live in isolation from the world. But I am an Orthodox rabbi, whereas in North America, the vast majority of Jews are not Orthodox. They are from the liberal strands of Judaism. I live in Israel, and indeed in Israel, Orthodoxy is the established religion there, Orthodox Judaism. I am in charge of all the interfaith work around the world for the American Jewish Committee, AJC, which means I'm employed, in effect, to be ambassador for Judaism to the religions of the world. And so my home is in Jerusalem, my family is in Jerusalem, but I travel the world, hoping to make the place a better world. I hope I am, but even if I'm deluding myself, I'm having a lot of fun.
Actively supporting and contributing to the unitedness of all world religions, Rabbi David Rosen kindly explains his motive and vision for that noble initiative.
First of all, I would say there is a human necessity for us to understand one another. I think this is a clear impulse within the greatest traditions. I might, for example, refer to Islam and the passage in the Quran which says, "O humankind, we have created you from a single man and woman and made you into nations and peoples so that you may know one another." Why is it important to know one another? I would say within the Bible there are also similar statements. It's important to know one another because if we don't know one another, we have misconceptions about one another. If we have misconceptions about one another, we have negative stereotypes, prejudices, and fears, so we don't live well in the world. So knowledge is necessary to live in the right way and to make the world a safer place. But interreligious engagement is more than simply human encounter. Interreligious engagement is meeting people with a sense not only of who you are as an individual, but who you are as part of a tradition, of a heritage, of a culture, of a history. And there where we meet one another, that encounter is much richer and much more significant. And I would go one stage further and say, it is obvious to me that no one religion can encapsulate the totality of the divine. We are all products of specific histories and cultures. Humanity is full of massive histories and cultures. And therefore no one religion is the totality. God is more than any one religion. I can never know everything within the world. I come from my own heritage and it's important for me to know my own heritage properly. But when I meet someone from another religious heritage, in the spirit of that religious heritage, in effect, I encounter the divine presence beyond my own religious tradition. And that is a wonderful thing. So the first thing I would like to say is that I think it's really important that interreligious engagement takes place where the parties know their own religious heritage. I don't mean that if you don't know that then you can't engage, but the engagement will be so much more significant if it is the engagement of people deeply rooted within their own religious heritage. And then I would say that encounter actually strengthens their own particular identities because they learn to understand better how to present themselves, what are the commonalities and what are the differences, to be able to celebrate the commonalities, but to be able to respect the differences. Now, there are many projects that are going on in the world and many more that can be done where there is collaboration and cooperation. But I don't want to be dismissive of just the encounter in and of itself. Encountering the other human person is discovering a world. It's discovering a divine world. And that is a blessing in and of itself. So dialogue, even tea and sympathy, is not something to sneeze at. And of course, when it gets into a more theological and academic level, it can be enormously enriching. But there are many projects that we must do together if we believe in certain values of the sanctity of human life, of the value of the family, of justice and righteousness in the world. Then we have an obligation to work together with those that share those values so that we are greater than the sum of our different parts. Today there's an enormous amount of interreligious collaboration, whether it's on environmental, ecological issues, or combating poverty and development, very many areas where we can work together. And often for young people, and often for people who are not deeply theologically rooted, this becomes an easier way to engage other traditions than through dialogue.
One commonality that Rabbi Rosen believes in is the shared belief of all faiths in one God.
If you believe that there is one force behind the cosmos, then whatever people are calling it and however understanding, it's the same force. There cannot be another one.
As we live in an era of great change, including some unfavorable experiences, we also see many positive changes, such as the adoption of higher values and spiritual understanding. Rabbi Rosen shares his encouraging views.
I do not think that there is more conflict in the world today. There are authors like Steven Pinker and others who have analyzed the amount of conflict in the past and in the present, who suggest that in fact there is less conflict today. Whether that's right or wrong, what matters is that we live in a world of modern technology and of modern communications, where everything comes into our living room, and we know about what's going on in the world in a way we never knew before. And what sells newspapers and what boosts TV rating is not the good news. So the news is not full of all the good things in the world, but there is so much more good than bad in the world. And in interreligious relations, we live in an amazing era where there has never in history been as much communication, understanding, collaboration, joint initiatives as we have today. It is a far, far better world than has ever existed. We have conveniences and opportunities today of modern technology, but when modern technology is in the wrong hands, it can be very destructive. So it is a more dangerous world in some respects, but it's definitely a healthier, more productive, more communicative, and more cross-cultural world than ever before.
So you think the collaboration of religions and spiritual groups are moving toward this more positive media and more positive actions?
Unquestionably more positive direction. There is more spiritual understanding and collaboration in our world than ever in history.
For more information on Rabbi David Rosen and his noble work, please visit rabbidavidrosen.net. Tolerant viewers, for the engaging continuation of this interview, please join us again tomorrow for the second part of Global Spiritual Movement Towards a Vegan Era of Peace and Collaboration, interview with Rabbi David Rosen. We appreciate your presence on today's Words of Wisdom.